Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I am joined by Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell. She's an accomplished attorney, CPA, best-selling author, Christian life coach, intelligence practitioner, and she's also an ordained New Thought minister, Christian minister, an intuitive business coach. She has a lot going on, everyone, and I am really, really excited that she's here today. Thank you so much for coming to Spiritual Spotlight series. How are you doing today?
I am wonderfully well and so honored to be here, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Lenita, can you maybe share with us what initially inspired you to pursue such a diverse career path, combining law, finance, and spiritual coaching?
Actually, it was following my life path. Now, I can say that now on this side of the rainbow, but as I was walking my path, I was very frustrated with myself because I was like, why is it seems like everybody can just find their groove and just walk, and I'm all over the place. But what Spirit has shown me at this point in my life is that I needed different experiences with different people so that I could appeal to a very broad audience and really have not just compassion, but empathy for people.
Yeah.
My mother selected my undergraduate major, which was accounting. I did not like it. I'm a very outgoing person. So just sitting there doing a little beanie thing, that wasn't my thing, right? So then I went back for law, loved law, but still felt like there was something missing. And so I did what I was raised to do. I started serving in the community and found a lot of passion and joy there. And I also found women who were just like me, a few years younger, who were looking for ways to serve and to move up the corporate ladder, but they weren't necessarily getting the opportunities to
Mm.
do so. And I wrote my first book, which was Leading Through Living, a guide for women seeking growth through leadership. And in that book, I shared how I used my community activism and involvement, those skills, gifts, and talents, and brought them into the workplace so I could grow because I was not necessarily given the opportunities on the job to get those skills. And then people read it and it really resonated. And even though it said for women, the men were like, I don't care that that was said for women. I'm using it too. So I was invited to come speak. And then people asked me to help them to write their own books. And so then I started coaching with that. But then I had a life challenge, which
Mm.
I'll go through a little later because I know you're going to ask because everybody asks. So that's how I wound up doing these various things with the coaching, the speaking, the law, finance.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you this. Have you found ways to integrate your spiritual beliefs and practices into your professional life, especially in fields like law and finance, which are often seen as more secular?
So I especially use my skills, gifts, and talents in the secular because we like to think, Rachel, that we are these separate and apart beings. Like I'm one person at work and I'm another person at home. That is a lie. And even when we put on, I call it our battle suit, right?
Yes. Yes.
The mask, whatever word you
Yeah.
want to use, your light still peeks out in the little cracks and crevices in the slits, okay? So who you really are, people see that. And so
Mm.
I got to a place where I was just like, well, let's just go for the full shebang. And I threw all that off and I just show up as me. And particularly when it comes to tense situations
Mm.
at work, um, that showing up with that intuitive intelligence, really listening to what the soul is saying, not necessarily what my clients are saying, or the uh, wonderful counselor and advocate that's sitting across the table from me, sometimes showing their natural crack, allows me to be a loving and empathetic human being toward them, even when they're not acting like one. So, yes.
I love that. I I'm having a moment, everyone. So, I'm having a moment. You have achieved significant success in your career. Yet you mentioned feeling something was missing. Can you maybe describe the moment you realized this and how it impacted your approach to life and work?
Absolutely. I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing. I attended a vision board party that was jointly facilitated, excuse me, by Jahari Sword and Benicia Ponder, who are amazing speakers in their own rights, business for women. And this one was different because I had been to vision board parties before where you get your magazine, cut your pictures, put it on there, right? But this one, they started it off with an extended meditation. And so instead of us just grabbing our magazines and pictures, it was, what is spirit telling you? What are you feeling? What is the call? How are you being called forth? And so I wrote what was being downloaded into me, and then I got pictures to match up with that. And that was when I was able to hear myself and hear spirit, when I was like, there's got to be something more. I have had a blessed life, Rachel, wonderful family and friends and community, amazing opportunities. But I think we all know that those things, check marks, do not define life satisfaction.
Yes.
And so that's when I was able to look in and say, I would really like to do something that was meaningful, impactful for many people. And that's where the book came from. My first book came, which set the trajectory for today.
That is amazing. Now, you have mentioned now a couple of times listening to spirit. So, was listening to
Yes,
spirit something that you maybe heard or felt when you were young and then kind of tapped more into it as you aged? Or is it something that you've always known within you is something that's a higher power, connection to God? If you can elaborate a little bit on that.
absolutely. When I was very small, my parents tell me they always knew that I was having a conversation with somebody else,
I love
right?
that. I love that.
And so and I was introduced to God from the time that I could talk. So I was and am very grateful for that foundation, right? But my personal connection to God happened when I was in the fourth grade. I was having a time with fractions. I did well on everything else, but fractions, I just could not get the concept. It was
Thank
D's and
you.
F's.
Same. Thank you.
Right?
Same. And I'm really good at math and I'm a registered
Yes.
nurse.
Thank you. But that concept, it just, and my parents paid for tutors. They sat down with
I
me. So
love
this was
this.
right. There were all these people, my teachers, everybody was, come on, Lynita, you can do it. But I was like, it just, but one day I was sitting there and I was 9 years old. I was sitting on the bed and had my book open and I said, God, I'm not moving from this spot until you show me how to do this. Now, in my mind, a small amount of time passed and it just clicked and I got it. But I realized when I looked at the clock, 2 hours had passed.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
Excuse me.
So that was my first encounter with God, my
Wow.
personal encounter.
I love this.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Like a snapshot.
hmm So
Oh.
that was the first time that and when I say understood, because when you're 9, you don't really
Hmm.
get right. Okay, that was the first time I understood the power of meditation, like sitting quietly in his presence so he can talk and do the work to make the changes in you that need to be made for what you have asked for. Because we ask for things all the time, but we don't sit still enough for God to do what he needs to do within us. Because remember, the problem was not the fraction, the problem was my comprehension of the
True.
fraction. So the change had to come within me. But I wish I could say that I maintained that understanding throughout my whole life. That's a lie.
I love your
That's a
honesty.
lie.
I love it.
And we get caught up in the world and what people are saying and showing us about it
Mm,
all begins and ends with you. And so
yes.
I fed into that. I really, really did. And I worked myself to the bone and I almost died a couple of times. Yeah.
So with these near death experiences, it sounds like, did you have moments where you crossed the other side and saw spirit, or are you okay to share a little bit about that?
Oh, we're friends, Rachel. Let's go, honey. Let's do it. And so
You're the
so,
best.
so I have, yes. Um, it'll be 2 years in June. I was in the hospital for bowel obstruction, which was a complication from a previous surgery that I had had.
My gosh, that is such a serious thing.
Oh yeah. It's just bowel obstruction, two words
No, no,
that
it
can end your
is.
life.
You could die.
Yeah,
100%. Yes, ma'am. I know that for a fact.
yeah. And so I had this experience. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but I was dying of pneumonia. I didn't know. Yeah, I was in the hospital, and you know, 2 years ago,
This is during
that's still
COVID.
COVID,
Right. It's
right?
during COVID. Right.
Right. And so I'm in the hospital, and I'm getting shoddy care. Uh, those people are lucky that my husband is a saved man now, because when we met, it would have been a different result. I'm
You
trying
guys
to
would have
tell
had an
you.
experience, is what I'm hearing.
Yes,
An
yes,
experience.
an experience. That's what we're saying, right? And I was just like, how did I end up here? And I was out of my body. And I was at the end of the universe. And I looked, and the whole world was in my hand. And I took that to mean from God, like, you've created all of this. If you want to change, you know how. I said, stop. And everything stopped. And I said, we're resetting. And I came back. And y'all don't do this at home. I started pulling those wires and IVs out of me. I pulled that tube out of my nose. And it was the first time I was able to blow my nose in almost a week. And all this phlegm, and I could smell, because I've had pneumonia before.
Yeah.
I smelled it. And I was like, oh my God, if I had been here another day, my family would have been burying me. And I called my sister and I said, come get me. And she did. She did. The only thing that well, okay, I won't be that graphic, but there was only one thing that I didn't pull out for myself because I was scared. But when
Oh, I
the
know what you didn't pull
sounds,
out.
yeah,
I
you
know what
know
you
it,
didn't pull
right?
out. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes,
So when
ma'am.
the alarm started going off and they're coming in like,
She signed
oh
out
my God,
AMA.
yeah, I was like, I'm gone. I'm done with this place. I'm gonna die if I stay here. Yeah.
That is such a powerful experience. Like even as you're just saying it, I can feel the emotion and like the transformation and just the almost also the power that you had in that moment. Like, oh
Oh yeah.
my goodness. Now, since that experience, how has that shifted your, your intuitive coaching business career?
Oh, absolutely. So the first way that it has changed is that I tell all of my clients from the jump, like, you're going to have a lot of rest time that we're building into your schedule. So if you're not good with like doing that, not just
Mm,
saying that, we're not going to work well together.
okay.
Years ago, I read this book by His Holiness Sri Ravi Shankar, who is the founder of the Art of Living Foundation in Bangalore, India. And he has a set schedule for managers and directors and up, right? One long weekend a month, so 3-day weekend, 1 week of vacation every 6 months, and then once a year you got to do 2 weeks.
Oh.
And as Americans, we're like, what is that?
Time off? Excuse
Right.
me?
Now my European clients, they
They're like,
will go on
woohoo!
vacation in the middle of a sentence. Okay.
I love you so much. I gotta go. I'm on a vacation.
I was working with a young lady on my app, and I promise you, I sent an email and I got a response back out of office. And I'm just like, what well, girl? You got But what if we learn to do that? Seriously.
Yes, yes. We feel shamed to take time for
Mhm.
ourselves. And it is
Yes,
such a hustle culture that's not serving us any good.
not at all. And you're talking about serving. The people who gave us this hustle culture, they were not, I believe, ill intended
I
or
would
ill
agree with
will
you.
before, right? They taught us what they knew to do. But if we're looking at it from the perspective of what they knew to do, we all get to a place where we are like to our parents, I love you and I appreciate everything you taught me. All of that wasn't on point. And so I have to do some things differently for myself that I know. And that's one of those things.
Yes.
That is one of those things.
Well, the perfect example to your point is smoking. Doctors used to prescribe smoking. And then several years later, after they had to publish scientific articles, oh, wait, it causes cancer.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the perfect example. So,
Yes.
wow. So, let me ask you this. You have a
Yeah.
5-step formula to the ultimate successful life. Can you
Yes.
maybe elaborate on this process and what are the key realizations or experiences that led to its development?
Absolutely. So the key experiences were my surgeries because I had achieved everything I ever wanted, but I still didn't have that lasting happiness. I was still on this hamster wheel. I would achieve, be happy, and then feel like I need to do something else again. And so I was like, I'm not looking for happiness. I'm looking for joy. And joy is an internal job, right? Whereas happiness is external. And so that is what led to the framework or the formula. The first is that we focus on people and not on process. What does that mean? It means that what is happening right here, right now, which is this conversation with you and me, Rachel, that's the only thing that matters. Because we spend so much time planning, strategizing on tomorrow
Mm,
that we forget that if today is not taken care of, tomorrow can't come. Not won't. It cannot. There are no foundational building blocks for tomorrow to form if we're too ill to enjoy it.
true.
Period.
True. Facts. True.
Yeah. The second thing is to unstretch ourselves thin. We have told ourselves that if we're not busy every minute of the day, that we're failures.
Yes.
Y'all, there's a reason that you paid that money for that couch. Lay on it.
There's a reason why you have Netflix.
Watch it. Right?
Bravo is there for a reason.
It really is. Watch that fine man take off his shirt.
Yes, ma'am. I
Yes,
got I need an out of office reply.
yes, really. Um, I take once every quarter a Saturday and look at everything that I'm involved in. And then I start eliminating things that are no longer in line with my purpose.
I
Now, I didn't say that we're negative. Right. Go ahead. Go ahead,
I'm
Rachel.
so that is genius. Once a
Yeah.
quarter, is it
Mhm,
aligned or is it no longer aligned? It's almost
mhm.
like once a year I go through and unsubscribe from emails. I'm gonna start doing that
There
once a
you go.
quarter.
Yes, it makes life so much easier. And you have to promise that you're
Yeah.
not going to replace it with something. I know. I know.
I have
It was
chills.
hard for me
I
too.
have no, honestly, I am so grateful to be speaking with you today because there's this thing called a Masogi, which is one big event that you plan for the year, one big goal. And for me, it's to work on my health and my well-being, and it includes mental well-being. What you are saying is speaking to my core. Like, I'm like, yes, ma'am, I am implementing this when we hang up this call.
Well, good. That is wonderful. And then the
Like,
last
God
thing,
bless you. Bye.
no, 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 no. This is good. This is good. And then the last major thing
Yeah.
is shifting from a I want to live a perfect life to wanting to live an excellent one. And the
Yes.
difference between them is that if you look at perfection in the dictionary, it is meeting or exceeding standards. But I have to ask you, Rachel, who set those standards? Because it probably, yeah, no, somebody else gave you that list.
Oh yeah, it's called yes, it's societal expectations,
There you
parents,
go.
friends,
Mhm.
family,
Oh,
boyfriends,
that's
lovers.
right. That's right. And all these people love you. And so it comes to a place where you have to say, I love y'all too, but this is not working for me. And so I
Yeah.
need to move over to an excellent life, which is the understanding that not only am I setting my own standards, but there's grace built in.
Mm,
So if something doesn't turn out exactly like I had in mind, that's fine. You know why? Because it was in line with my life purpose, my journey, what my soul needed to accomplish this time around. And once you get there, other people's expectations, they really do not impact you the way that they used to. Now, I won't
yeah,
say they won't ever matter
of
because
course.
you care what your mama thinks. Come on now.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't sting so much when there's not necessarily that 100% approval. 80% is good. It's still a B. I'm good.
I love that. So you have a book that you have written, and I know you've written a couple books behind you. Can you please show the book to us and tell us about this amazing book?
Absolutely. So
I
this
love
is,
that.
thank you. This is Live Life on Fire, the ultimate guide to the successful life full of peace, joy, and fulfillment. And it is a cheat sheet to answer the question, what am I living for?
Yes.
Because it can't be stuff. If it was stuff, you would have been happy the moment you got your car, your money, your house, everything that you ever wanted on your list, right? Instead, you keep going like there's something else that you have to have.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you shouldn't want those things. I want them too. I like having a roof over my head, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is they cannot define your happiness. They cannot define your joy.
Right.
And so I take you through a process that includes just being in the present, living a life of flow. So just going with everything and trusting that life is for you, not against you. And so that even things that are kind of almost like the boogeyman jumped out, that trusting that that was for you too, building you up, making you stronger, right? So that you can live a life of awe.
I love that.
And once you're in awe, that allows you to tap into your intuitive intelligence. And all of us have the clear skills and gifts, right? All knowing, all seeing, all hearing, all being. But we don't necessarily tap into them.
Mm,
Once you're living in awe, you can. And that allows you to be better and to serve your clients, your family, and yourself.
that's beautiful. That's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you. So
So
pick it
you in Amazon, your website,
all the good places.
anywhere.com.
Absolutely. That's right. The best place, though, seriously, would be my website. And it's also on Audible. So if you want to drive around and listen, please check it out.
And for the listeners, what is your website?
It is my name, Lynita, spelled Lynita, Mitchell-Blackwell.com.
That's such a beautiful website. She has an amazing website. If you want to see like all of the amazing things she has going on, you need to check out her website. I'm like, I need her web designer. It's amazing.
You.
So, can you please share a personal story of transformation, either from your own life or from someone that you've coached that embodies the principles of your ultimate success life formula?
Absolutely. I've spent a lot of time talking about myself, so I'll pick a client who I know is good because she shares this story. Coach Carol Roden. When we met, she was over the children's ministry at our church, and Spirit had me ask her, "Have you ever played in a league?" Now, Coach is not tall. Coach is maybe about 5'7", 5'8". And so she paused and looked at me and she said, "Why did you ask me that?" I said, "God told me to. Have you ever played in the league?" She said, "Yeah, I was cut from a team for the WNBA." And I was like, "What?" Right, exactly, right? Now, my husband was just appointed to this church. I did not know her from Adam.
I love
But
this.
from that point on, we were like peanut butter and jelly,
Right.
exactly, together. So we went to lunch that wound up turning also into dinner. And she laid out everything she ever wanted to do. And she was like, "I know that I'm all over the place, but I took the pieces of paper and I just put them in order. And I said, Coach, you're not all over the place. This is the life plan God has given you. This is a 10-year plan." And she was like, "I feel so much better." She said, "But like, what do I do?" I said, "Well, first you've got to own that you being cut was a blessing and not
Mm,
something to be embarrassed about."
Mm.
because I get the impression that that still stings even all these years later. I mean, that happened when she was in college. Since then, she's been an award-winning coach for various levels. She has earned her master's degree. She is an educator. She's done amazing things, but that thing was still there. And so we redid her bio. And that is landed right in the first paragraph saying that she took that experience and learned to see God's hand on her life and how it could help other people.
Oh,
Because when she talks to her students now, she can tell them, I made it to the league. I got cut because XYZ. This is what we're going to do to fortify you so that if it doesn't go all the way for you, it's okay. You're
right.
still a complete, whole, successful, lovely being. And we published her first book that talked about her journey, which is called Carol's Dream. We published her devotional for educators last year. Exactly. She is speaking all over the nation, and she was recently inducted in the Collegiate Hall of Fame for the Sports Hall of Fame. So these are all things that we have accomplished. I say we because I'm her coach over the
I
past
have
6 years
chills.
because because she was willing to embrace that
Yeah.
painful part. But without that, if we don't embrace every part of our story, even
Yeah.
the painful ones, we leave things on the table.
We do. 100%. You are so correct. 100%. It's interesting when you look back at your life at what you thought it was going to end up at. And when you see the twists and the turns, you're like, there's amazing lessons in all of these. You can
Oh
either
my
learn
goodness,
to
yes.
elevate you or take you down.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So let me ask you this. Looking ahead, what new goals or aspirations are you setting for yourself, both in your personal and professional life?
So personally, I have been going to the gym every day. As a matter of fact, when we finish up, I'm headed out.
She's like, bye.
I mean, and I've Rachel, this is big for me because I used to go work out first thing in the morning, and I got to the place where I was just like, I really like my bed. So Spirit was just like, then go at night, and I was like, but I'm gonna be too tired. But what has happened is that when I go at night, I'm able to release the day. And then I come home and I give to myself a bubble bath every
Love
night.
that. That's
I know,
beautiful.
right? Exactly. Now, I know some of you are like, I have small kids. That's not going to work out for me. They go to bed. After you put them down, get in the tub. That's your time.
It's your
That
time.
is totally your time. So that was my big thing, and that's
Yeah.
something I'm committed to, and I'm moving forward. So that's personal. Professionally, I want to be on 100 stages this year. And
Amen.
yes, and that's happening.
I feel
And I
it.
get to and I'm already on stage 2 because I'm here with you. So this is
Amen.
great.
Again, I hope you don't mind me saying amen. I feel it. I can feel it in the
Hmm,
back of your head.
thank you.
I love that. 100 stages,
Mhm.
international or all in the United States.
I am open. Have passport, will travel. Let's do it.
Uh, All right. And then for our final question, for our listeners who are seeking more than just success in their lives, what advice would you offer for finding a deeper sense of peace, joy, and fulfillment?
So the best way for you to find that peace, joy, and fulfillment is for you to embrace that you are a spiritual being having a human experience and you are living the best way that you can. Once you remove these expectations that other people have of you, that you have of you, and just realize that you are perfect just the way you are, life shifts.
Mm, that is
Life shifts.
It's a beautiful piece of advice. Thank you so, so much for coming to the Spiritual Spotlight series. I am excited to see you on over 100 stages this year, and I wish
Thank
you nothing
you.
but success. Thank you again.
No problem.